Hi, welcome to our live broadcast today. If you're interested in publishing, learning about how you should publish your book, all the ins and outs, the tricks, the secrets, how to become a bestseller, you're in the right place. I'm Melanie Johnson, co-owner and founder of Elite Online Publishing, and there's my amazing business partner, Jenn Foster.
Hey everyone, how you doing today?
So she is amazing. We are both Wall Street Journal, USA Today bestsellers. Jenn and I have been publishing for, almost 8 years now. And we have published over 3,000 books. So we know what we're doing, needless to say. And 100% of all our authors have become #1 bestsellers. So if you don't know us, that's kind of who we are. My background a little bit is I owned a couple TV stations along with my former husband, one in Houston and one in Dallas. I started out as a newscaster, but then I learned how to produce TV shows, marketed a brand new TV station from scratch, did some real estate investing. I've done that, built a couple mansions in my day, done that as well. And then became a publisher and have published a bunch of books and just really enjoyed serving people to get their story out there and help their business explode with their books. Jenn, tell them a little bit about your background.
Sure. Yeah, I'm Jenn Foster. And yeah, Melanie and I met each other at a marketing conference almost probably 10 years ago, but we started our company 8 years ago. And my background, my former husband and I had retail stores. So we had kiosks. We had over 20 kiosks in 3 different states. And we sold watches and sunglasses and did battery repair. So, fixed your watches for you. So that was awesome. And during that time, I started in web design because we needed a website for our company. And then I started making websites for other people. And then I thought, it'd be cool if people could find these websites. So I learned how to do marketing for those websites and figure out how to get #1 on Google search so people could find our website. And that and the websites I was building. And that led to I was really passionate about people being #1 on Google search. And so when I learned about book publishing and how we could make people #1 on Amazon, I thought, hey, this is the same. I can just help people become #1 on Amazon, which is also a search engine similar to Google, which is a search engine, and just help people to just reach the top.
Yeah, I love that we are passionate always about being #1, right?
#1. We'd love to hear who's watching. So if you're watching, put in the comments so we can see who you are, put your name and what state you're listening from so that we know more about you. And then we can get into some questions and get into some publishing tips. And Melanie's going to start us off, but definitely throughout our talking, put some comments, put some questions so we can put those up on the screen and answer them for you.
Yeah, and if you want to know what we do at Elite Online Publishing, because some people don't realize what we do and they're like, oh, online, is it only online? Well, Jenn and I publish all types of books. So we do mostly nonfiction, but we do fiction and we do children's books and we've done memoirs as well. But we do in all formats. So you're like, do you do audiobooks? Yes, we do. Do you do a hardback book? Yes, we do. And we do paperback and we do ebooks. We also do a thing called a flip book, which we'll talk about a little more later, which is great to generate leads for you. Flip books are new and up and coming and a really cool thing to do. So we also do author websites, which we think authors should have. Every author should have a website or a landing page.
We optimize those because, a lot of times people will say they'll build you a website, but they won't add the SEO, the search engine optimization. So if you can't find your website, that's kind of not okay, right? So we got to make sure it's optimized.
Right. And the other thing we do is we rebrand you. So we brand you as an author. We go through your social media. If you don't have any social media, then we create it for you. So we're really, I tell Jenn, sometimes I think we're a marketing company that does publishing versus a publishing company that does marketing. And who is this for? If you've thought about writing a book, and wanted to always write a book, then you're in the right place. If you're confused about how to choose a publisher or what's the next step you should take, then you are in the right place. Even if you just have an idea, but you want to write a book, then you're in the right place today. So we're going to jump in and get started. And we're going to talk about what are the advantages of self-publishing and how to pick a self-publishing company versus traditional publishing. So one of the biggest things is the speed to market. So if you do a traditional publisher, usually that takes I don't know, can take 2 to 3 years, sometimes even more. You have to get an agent first. That's time to do all the research. Then they have to then put a whole packet together for you and shop you to traditional publishers. And then once a traditional publisher gets you, then that takes at least a year. And you do lose all the control from your book. They can decide, oh, we don't want to do a paperback book with your book or an audio book. And you just don't get a choice with that.
They can
So,
also decide what goes in your book.
yeah.
So we had an author one time who came to us who was traditionally published, and he wanted a bestseller campaign. And he was telling us stories how they changed the words in his book. Like he wanted to he always says, a bad word, an SHIT word, but he always says that word. But he wanted it in his book a couple of times, and they said, no, you have to take it out. And so like they can tell you what goes in your book and what doesn't, which is then it's not really your book anymore.
Yeah. And how many times, Jen, you and I have worked with other traditional publishers because they don't do the marketing. They don't do a bestseller campaign. So we've worked with McGraw-Hill, we've worked with Scribe, we've worked with all these different publishing houses to make the author a Wall Street Journal or Amazon bestseller. Because they don't offer that service. So you really want to be careful no matter who you pick that they do a bestseller campaign. So you're going to get a lot of control with your content when you're working with a self-publishing company like us. So you want a new cover, you want to update the inside, you can do that. It's all your choice, but you're working with experts. Think of it like when you're building a house with a custom builder, they're going to make recommendations for you, but you still get to pick the color of paint that's going to go inside the house. You still get to pick the tile out and everything. So it's really specific for you. So we like to do that. And then another big tip is the royalties, right, Jen? You're going to get 100% of the royalties, which is a big deal. So a traditional publisher might give you some money up front. And really, if you don't have a following or have a big audience, you're not going to get a traditional publishing deal, first of all.
Right. Well, and I think people don't really understand that upfront money because they think, well, I want a traditional publisher because I'm going to get $30,000 or $20,000.
Yeah.
Well, they don't really understand what that means. And until you read that contract, you don't know what it means because every publisher is different.
Yeah.
So some publishers will give you that money, but then in the contract, it says that you have to sell so many books that equals that amount before they even give you another dime, right? So you think you're getting, the 20,000 plus you're getting, royalties from the book, which I've heard people say that if traditionally published, they make 30 cents or even like usually less than $1. Like back in the day, it was $1. Jack Canfield used to say, I need to sell 1 million copies. So then I would make $1 each and I make $1 million, right? But now, like I've heard some of the traditional published authors say, I get 30 cents a book. So, you got to sell a lot more to make $1 million now for that. But then in the contract, there might be other things in there that happen before, like you have to sell a certain amount of books before that. Or then also I've noticed in those contracts, you have to pay some of that back if you don't sell that many books.
Oh, yeah, that's a big deal. So people go and spend that money and then they might have to give some back.
You might have to give some back.
Yeah. And we were talking about having control. Remember Laurel Langmeyer? She worked with McGraw-Hill and she wanted to have her book done in a paperback and they said, no, they're not going to do it. And she had several other books with them that she had published with in the past. And guess what? They weren't doing another print run because they don't do print on demand. So she couldn't sell more of those books. They didn't want to do another print run when her new book came out. So we kind of call that the publishing handcuffs. And what Jen was talking about too is like, the trend now is in musicians, right? They want to have their own stuff. Think about, who is it? Oh, Taylor Swift, who just re-recorded all her stuff. Prince, who had to get out of his publishing contract, couldn't use his name. So you really own 100% of your intellectual property.
Yeah. Well, and also, with those publishing handcuffs, like for instance, with that not doing a paperback, like we believe your book should be in all formats because not everyone wants to buy a hardback book because they can't afford it, or maybe they like paperback more, maybe they like Kindle more, maybe they like audiobook, right? So everyone has a different way to read books, and so we like to make sure you have all the formats that is out there, which is those 4, audiobook, paperback, ebook, and hardback.
And some people don't know you really make a lot of royalties, a lot more royalties on your audiobook. There's it's the biggest trend right now is books are growing exponentially, but there's not that much competition. So we really highly recommend that you do an audiobook. And another question we get all the time, should it be my voice or should I pay a professional? And a lot of times we really recommend, if you have a good voice and you're a good speaker, to do your own audio because you can include so many other stories. If you're not confident enough to do that, then we say, okay, the next level is just read the introduction or do a preface to the book. Then it's your voice and you're having something personal. And then it goes into a professional that's going to read the rest, which I think is a great way to do it.
Yeah, well, and I was reading trends on audiobooks, and I think it was either 2017 or 2019. I think it's 2019. We were saying that audiobook industry is $2.5 million industry. Well, now it's 2023, and they're saying it's a $12.5 million industry.
Billion with a B now.
Billion. So it's $2.5 billion in the beginning, and now it's $12.5 billion. So in just a few years, it's jumped so much. So it really is trending, and that's what people want to do, where they work out or drive the car or whatever they're doing.
So when you're picking a publisher, you really want to ask great questions. So we have had authors come to us who sadly have been with some shyster publishers. And we're not here to bash anyone, but we just want you to do your homework. So when you're picking a publisher, really do your research. So you know that you're in a great place. You're going to get what you're paying for. Because we had an author, he's like, oh my gosh, I paid all this money and I didn't get anything and I don't have my files. Had another author that paid, I don't know, $20,000 and their book never got published. And so frustrating. I feel horrible for those people. So a lot of times we're getting those people and they're coming in and we're fixing the problems that they had and giving them a really great product and giving them great service. And they're so happy. Those are probably our most appreciative clients because they've worked with somebody who wasn't very good. So what are some of the things you should ask and you should look for? So I'm going to say you should really look for testimonials, right? Have really great testimonials, but also go onto Amazon and search the publisher's name. Find some of their other books on your own that maybe they didn't post as their regular testimonials on their webpage, and contact them and, see what they are saying about the books and about the author and the kind of service that they got.
Well, I think and along with that, like, you really need to make sure you're searching and researching the company name, because we've had, there's variations of names out there everywhere. So I actually just got an email yesterday that said, is this you? I'm trying to translate my book with elitepublishinghub.com. I said, we are not elitepublishinghub.com. So we're Elite Online Publishing. And we've even heard of Elite Publishing by itself, but then they have some other word at the end that they're pretending to, I don't know if they're pretending to be us, but they're definitely trying to look like they're big, and they're not doing the same services we do. So make sure when you're searching, a good thing is to go to Amazon.com, because that's where most books are sold, and type in the publisher name. So if you go to Elite Online Publishing search in Amazon, you'll see all the books we've published. At the end of that list, I noticed there's some books we didn't publish. So you kind of have to really research and maybe look at the details of the book to see if that's really who they got published. But there, you could do the same with McGraw-Hill or Post Hill Press. You can actually see what books they have published, right?
Yeah, and another great way is to check out all their social media. So look at, are they posting? Are they on YouTube? I mean, we're everywhere. We've been interviewed on multiple people's podcasts. So you can see that we're consistent with what we do. So you want to make sure that, we're on Pinterest even. So, we're on LinkedIn, we're on YouTube. We're really big on YouTube, actually. We've got a lot of videos there. We have not one, but 2 podcasts that we do with interviewing people. So we're on every social media platform. We're posting all the time. So you can really see who we are. Look to make sure that they have blog posts. Are they doing a blog post? Do they have a newsletter? What are they doing? Do they do informational things like we're doing right now? So that's really important, that they offer all 4 formats like we talked about. So here's some other little inside things that you should be getting when you get a publishing package. You should make sure you have an Amazon author profile that is set up for you. Some publishers just forget about that, but it's really, really important for your SEO because Amazon is going to promote your book. But if you have an author page, they promote the author page too, which has your bio and the books that you've written. Create a book video trailer. We do that for every single author that we do. So that also not just create it, but it's put everywhere. We put it on our social media, all of our social media, but we also put it on the author's social media to make sure that it's trending. So you want to make sure that too. Make sure that you get a press release, that they're putting a press release out for you, and that you're getting a media kit. So a press release is great because it announces to everyone, plus you're getting that SEO again. A media kit can be used to help you get speaking gigs, to get interviews, to be on other people's podcasts, to send out even to potential clients. You have a media kit that you can send out. So those are all real important things to do. And make sure. Oh, go ahead, Jen.
I was going to say that media kit's really important. So we call it a book one sheet, but it's really a media kit. So it has your author bio on it, your picture. It has your book synopsis on it, your book description, and it has a picture of the book. It has all the details for anyone to order your book. So you can take that, you can email it, or you can print it off. We always give a black and white version, so it's easy to print if you don't want to pay for color printing, and a colored version if you want to go to FedEx, Kinko's and print off some awesome, high gloss, awesome book sheets. But you can take those into bookstores and you can have, the big box bookstores, the managers are the ones who order the book. So every bookstore is different, but you walk into the bookstore, hand them that sheet, they can look up your ISBN number and get that book on the shelf. Or you can email it to libraries and get, libraries to put your book, especially your local libraries that that you've been going to. Talk to the librarian, bring her the sheet, say, hey, could you put my book in your library? And the library's near here, right? Because she maybe knows people who order for all the libraries, not just her one branch.
Yeah. And you say, what's the benefit of being a bestseller? It really is a title that you carry with you wherever you go. There was a celebrity, I'm trying to think of who it was, that said, they don't just announce, it was a business type celebrity. The first thing that comes out of their title is Wall Street Journal, #1 international best-selling author, and then everything else. And when you search people on Wikipedia, it always surprises me. They mention their books first. They don't mention all the other accomplishments. They mention that they're an author and that they're Wall Street Journal bestseller. So it really carries a lot of clout when you have that. So think about doing that. And then we get the question all the time, well, how much does it cost? How much should I be paying to get my book published? And it really ranges. There's a wide range. And I always say, don't go cheap on your way to success, because if someone says, oh, I can publish your book for $5,000, be very leery, be very careful. And one of the reasons is because they're probably just putting it on Amazon and not doing global distribution everywhere else. And what does global distribution mean? It means that you're going to be in Walmart, you're going to be in Target, you're going to be in Barnes and Noble, you're going to be everywhere, 40,000 plus places that books are sold on top of Amazon. Amazon is still the biggest selling bookstore in the world, but you really want to be everywhere else. Again, it's like an SEO thing, right? Because it's populating that you're in all these places, and other people, when you search your name, it's going to come up in all those other places. So that's really important.
Well, and that is what happens to some of our authors who come to us that want to be a bestseller, and that the ones who are traditionally published, sometimes their book isn't even on Amazon. Like, you really have to research, like some of the local publishing companies here, they give you like 5,000 books or something, or I don't know, you have a bunch of books in your garage, but where can they buy those books? Only on that publisher's website. They don't even publish them on Amazon. So you really have to understand, what does that mean, right? Because you want your book accessible to everyone, not just, hey, you got to go to this publisher's website to buy my book, or you have to get it from me at an actual live event, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's really limiting, right?
And I like you made the point of having those 5,000 books. So there are publishing companies that require you to buy a certain number of books. And usually it's a large quantity. Usually it's 1,000 plus. And or like, okay, so if your book costs, and then they're usually charging you more money. You're not buying the book wholesale. So let's say, an average 200-page paperback book is about $2.50. So they're going to say, well, that paperback book is selling for $20 retail, so we're going to give it to you for $10. So they're really making, $750 on your book. So when you think about $10 times 1,000, that's $10,000. Right. And we go, why do you want to invest $10,000 of books that are going to sit in your garage and you're going to take up brain space figuring out how am I going to get rid of these books? Where am I going to sell these books? So instead, we say put that money towards marketing and use print on demand. It's a much better use of your resources versus having all those books there collecting dust. I mean, you do want to have books on hand. We recommend having anywhere from 50 to a couple hundred, depending on what you're doing for your business and where you're going. But just order the books when you need them. It's a much better way to go.
Well, isn't it so much better too if you say, okay, I'm going to order 1,000 books, but you know that those books are already sold before you ordered them?
Yes.
Because that's what we do. You plan for that, right? So you don't say, oh, I'm going to have 5,000 books sitting in my garage. It's okay. What are the events you're going to be doing? Who are those strategic partners who are going to buy 500 copies of your book that you're going to order and they're already sold when you order them? That's what you need to do instead of just, having a warehouse full of books.
That is a great point. So kind of getting back to, okay, but what does it really cost to publish your book? With reputable publishers that are going to do a really good job can be anywhere from $20,000 to $100,000. So somewhere in that range, depending on what you're getting, what bestseller campaign you're doing, how many formats of the book that you're getting. So it really just depends.
What kind of marketing they're doing for you.
Mm-hmm.
It also is if they're helping you write it or ghostwrite it, right? So there's all those kind of factors in there too.
Right. If there's editing. And so if you're coming with like a finished manuscript or you just need some editing, you're still going to be somewhere in that range. And some have even paid more. We had, there was an author, sadly, who paid upwards of $150,000 to hit New York Times and Wall Street Journal and was not working with the right people. And it didn't happen. So they came and worked with us and we got the job done for them. So Jason Van Camp is his name. So we really appreciate Jason.
Now he's a Wall Street Journal bestseller.
Yes. So again, back to that cost, but then you're like, wow, that's a lot of money. How do I recoup that money? So we're really talking more about nonfiction authors have the easiest road to recouping that money. And we always tell authors it's not about the royalties that you're going to get, about the books you're going to be sold. There are strategies to do that, but really it's about using your book as an advertising and marketing tool and how you can get people to pay for your big ticket item, right? So what is a client worth to you? Let's say a client is worth $5,000 to you one time, but if you have a business that they're going to come in and repeat business, what's the lifetime value of that client? And then how many clients do you think that client's going to refer to you? So you may get all your money back with just getting one client from your book. There's a great story about Grant Cardone when he did his first millionaire, and it was really like a booklet that he did. He had some guy who got it that was in Arizona and said, man, I love your book. I want you to come and speak to our group. Anything you want, I'll pay you. And Grant said, well, I want $100,000. He said, done. Paid him $100,000 to come and speak. And then he got 3 clients at 6 figures each at the place that he spoke. That alone just, totally exponentially paid for the book, the time for the book, everything. And then the great thing is that book keeps working for you. It's not like a social media post that you did or a campaign that's going to get buried 2 years ago. No one's going to see that again, right? It's just not going to pop up. Right. Versus the book is there all the time. And you get the SEO from Amazon over and over again, year after year, month after month, day after day. So we always even tell our children's book authors, right, Jen, to come up with some kind of program to sell a service or do something on top of that.
I love that story about Grant. One of the stories from one of our clients we helped become a bestseller on Amazon, an international bestseller, is Kate DeLeo. And she was using her book and she was speaking. She had already started speaking when she published her book. But then she published her book, became a bestseller, and then she was speaking at this like circuit she was speaking at. And after she spoke, they come up to her and they said, "Oh, you're an international bestseller, I see." And she says, "Yes." And they said, "Well, we still want you to continue speaking in this circuit, but instead of you paying to be here, like because she was paying for her flight and her, all her accommodations to stay there." They said, "We want you to speak at every one of our events." And they gave her a longer time slot and they paid her and they paid for her accommodations. So she just like exponentially, and think of how many clients she got from every single one of those speaking gigs. And she didn't have any expenses because they were paying for accommodations.
You know, it makes me think of Andy Falco,
Mhm.
who wrote a book about dog training and dogs, and he was a former police officer, and he now does expert witness. She's an expert witness at trials about different cases that involve police dogs.
Yeah.
And he was just saying the other day, he says, I can't tell you, he wrote that book 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And he
Dog
said,
sniff evidence, I think it's called.
yes. And he says, I still get clients from that book. People find me online and see that I've written that book, and I get clients to be expert witness for that he gets paid for over and over again. So think about what other marketing tool do you have that will still work from you 10 years from now?
Mhm.
Unbelievable.
I love that. I love that, you know, Andy used his expertise.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, most retired officers, law officers, especially dog trainers, you know, the next step was what he did, which was train dogs. But to be able to go to lawyers and say, hey, I'm an expert at this, and now he's getting paid for that. I just love how that, you know, entrepreneurship, the ideas of the openness to do other things.
Yeah. Let's dive into unraveling some of the technical stuff on publishing that people get tied up in. And if you're wanting to publish your book yourself, there's so many times they're like, people reach out to us, oh my gosh, Amazon's not accepting my book. What do I do? I don't know what to do. And it's so confusing. So we're going to kind of unwind some of that and go through it.
Yeah, let's talk about some of that. And please leave your comments and questions. And I haven't seen any comments yet. So leave some comments if you have any questions, and we can put them up on the screen. And let us know where you're watching from. So put in the comments your state and your name so we know who's watching. But yeah, let's dive into some of that. So one of the questions we get all the time, which is a pretty technical question because it's kind of hard to do, is the Library of Congress number and the copyright number. So people come to us and say, do I need a copyright for my book? And sometimes they think, oh, I need to go and get a lawyer to get a copyright, right? Well, I'm not a lawyer, so, you know, but you can go to the copyright.gov website and read all of the information there. But what we found with the copyright is you can register your copyright with the government if you'd like to. It's not expensive. It's like $35, and you can register your book title there. But it's really difficult to do it after you have to wait till you're published in order to claim it. So you have to do that first because people try and do it before and you can't. But the Library of Congress number you need to do before you publish. So see, it's totally, you got to kind of know, right?
Totally different.
But you technically don't need either one. The Library of Congress, I believe, you know, I think that you only need that number if you have a technical type book, if you want your book to be in the government library for some reason or another. We've had professors who want that number, which is fine. But you really don't need a Library of Congress control number. The copyright, we don't believe you need one. When you write the book, you own the book. As soon as you start writing the book, you own your content because you created that. Yeah. And on the copyright page, it has, you know, copyright the year and your name. So that right there is legal binding that you own that copyright. Now, if you really wanted to, we heard this funny story that says that if you really wanted to, you know, register it with the government, you could be, if you were going to court because, you know, someone had taken your content and you were going to court, you could actually register for that copyright on the steps of the court. And you could, you know, have that registered. So you don't need to register it with the government. It's fine to just have your copyright page and have the right words on your copyright page. That's very important too.
Yeah, I think that people get stumped with that. So that's great to tell them. And then what do they do when, you know, we get random things where they say, I've rejected your manuscript. And you're like, holy cow. I mean, we go through that ourselves. It's back and forth, back and forth.
Like the Copyright Office, you mean?
No, you know, we put a book up, we think we're publishing it, and then all of a sudden Amazon says, oh, nope, you got something wrong with your book, but they don't really tell you what it is, or they give you like, it could be this, could be this, could be that, and then you got to figure it out.
There's lots of things on Amazon where they won't accept your book. Some of it's formatting issues. Some of it is your cover. If the designer of your cover didn't put your margins correctly, or if this text on the spine is too close, they're going to reject it. We've had, you know, the cool thing about technology and Amazon is when you upload your ebook, it tells you if you have any spelling mistakes. So, we recently just, we have a book release next week. It's called Brain to Bank. And on that book release, we uploaded the ebook and it said it had 7 spelling mistakes. And I said, oh, that's strange. So we looked it up and there was 7 lines. Well, guess what those all were? They were made up words that she made up, like solopreneur. Well, guess what? Solopreneur was spelled correctly. So we just pushed ignore and we were good to go. But I love those kind of tools that Amazon has.
Mm-hmm.
But you also have to, you have to kind of know how to work in there, because if your manuscript gets rejected,
Mm-hmm.
then you have to know how to adjust it or how to fix it. So yeah, we've had a few authors with Ingram, or people will come to me and say, well, Ingram Spark, which is a distributor, they distribute books all over the place. They rejected my book cover. And I'll say, well, I wonder why. Well, maybe because you didn't have the right file format. Maybe your spine, your text was too close to the spine. Maybe your margins are wrong. So you really have to have a professional graphic designer do your book cover, someone who knows what they're doing. Maybe someone who's published over 3,000 books who knows how to do it. And really hire the professional, right? Because sometimes it looks easy, but if you don't know Photoshop, if you don't know InDesign, if you don't know formatting, it's going to be a little hard.
Yeah.
So
And then the new thing that came out is A+ content. And most people are scratching their head, what the heck is A+ content? And it really is new. It came out end of last year. And a lot of authors aren't familiar with it. And so tell us what it is and why they should have it. And it's an important thing that an author does, that a publisher does for an author, or you do it for yourself when you're publishing your book.
Yeah, the fun thing about social media and Amazon is it changes every day. That can be fun, and it can also be a headache, but it's fun. So Amazon came out with A+ content, and A+ content is extra content when you're on your book sales page on Amazon and you're scrolling through the book, or you're on another person's book. Like you can go check out one of Melanie and I's. You're scrolling through the book, it'll say from the publisher. And on that is a bunch of images, graphics, and text. And that A+ content basically boosts your Amazon sales page, your book sales page, so that it has a visual, right? Because somebody might look at your book cover and then they're going to read your title, and then the detailed people will read your book description, right? Because people are either detail or visual, right? It's one or the other. And if you're a visual person, you're going to just scroll past the book description because you don't read. And you're going to scroll, and then from the publisher is going to come up and you're going to see these amazing graphics. You're going to see more of the book cover. You're going to see maybe some text or some testimonials or some quotes from the book. And that's going to compel you more to buy. So the A+ content is really just a robust way to make your sales page stand out. So it's really cool that Amazon came up with this. So it's kind of like building out a website, really, because you can build out, it's 2 or 3 different elements that you can build out with graphic design and text. And knowing what that text is and the call to action and the headlines and all the hooks, right? That's what we do. And we love doing A+ content. And it's a new thing. So some of our past authors don't have it. So, they can come back to us and pay us to do that if they want. But definitely you need A+ content because it just builds that book sales page and makes it really robust.
Yeah, and you really see it on, we noticed, you didn't say about the mobile, right? That you can't do a look inside. So this just changed. So it used to be you could do look inside the book from your phone. You can't do that from your phone anymore. So instead you're looking at the A+ content to get an idea of the book when you're on mobile. And a lot of people use their phones to do stuff, not so much your laptop. I mean, I don't know what the percentage is, but more people are on their phones than they are anything else during the day checking things out.
Yeah, what they changed is the Amazon shopping app. So if you have the Amazon shopping app on your phone and you're looking up a book, you cannot look inside the book. If you wanted to look inside the book, you'd have to open up your browser on your phone and then go to the page and look at it, which is the same as if you're on a desktop looking at it because you're in a browser, right? Like Chrome or Safari. So that's what they kind of changed that. But that's why when you're scrolling through, you can see that A+ content, it's more compelling to buy. So
yeah, you really want to make sure you're working with a company that is staying on top of innovations, changes that are happening on Amazon on a regular basis, what's new. We try and announce that in our newsletter. So if you want to be on our newsletter, we kind of tell you what's going on in the publishing world so you can get insight into that too.
Yeah, we have one question from Jenn. and she wants to know any advice for fantasy fiction authors to become a bestseller. We actually have a couple of sci-fi fantasy fiction books coming out.
Yes.
Some of our authors are that genre, so that's coming out in a few months.
Yeah. And, it's working with a great publisher, Jen, I would say, is making sure, or if you're doing it yourself. So there's a whole conversation about doing a book launch. So you want to make sure you have an email list, that you're emailing them, you're letting them know, you're posting on social media. Matter of fact, I was just making a video for TikTok today of things that you should do. So top 3 things I'll give you real quick is make sure you email your list, make sure you're posting on social media, right? And share it to other groups. All right. So those are top 3 things that you should do. And you should be doing that right away, even when you're thinking about writing your book. The question is, when should I start to market my book? The moment you start to write it, you should start marketing and talking about it.
All right. That I think the main thing, whenever you go to anyone or any professional marketer, like Gary Vee, Grant Cardone, Grant Cardone sells, but he's also marketing, right? All of those guys, Ed Milet, all of the people who are great in sales and marketing, the number one thing they say is, who is your list? Even multi-level marketing, right? You say you're going to go and sell, a multi-level marketing company. What's the number one thing they say? Who are the top 50 people you know? Who are the top 100 people you know? That's what they say. If you don't have a list, or if you don't have people or a following or a group of people that are going to buy your book, then it's going to be hard to sell your book. So that's great advice for even nonfiction and fiction. But that's what you really got to start doing, is building that list. So whether you have a lead capture page, a website that gathers their name and email, that's a lead capture page. Or you're just starting to build like a fan base on your social media, and letting them know you're writing the book, letting them know when you're picking the cover, hey, here's the 4 top covers that I'm choosing from, which is your favorite, kind of thing. All of those kind of things lead and get you fans and get you followers, but you got to capture their name and email. That's one thing that even Amazon does. They don't give you the name and email of the person who buys your book. So if you want to know who your readers are, you have to come up with that way, which is a website, a landing page, something that says, put your name and email here in order to get this, right? So even if it's just a newsletter on updates on how you're doing as a writer, right?
And then, the other way is, like, we work with authors all the time who don't have a list. So, but with our strategies and our proven process, we know how to push the book out to enough people through our social media and all the people that we're connected with to propel enough sales to make you a #1 bestseller. And
our
that's why,
email list and email campaigns.
And that's why we guarantee it, because we've done it for every single author. So you want to work with someone who can really guarantee that you'll be that #1 and that you have a team behind you that's doing it. It's not just you. You're not feeling like you're out there all by yourself.
That's for sure. Because I think that's the biggest thing. People think, oh, well, I can just do it on my own. I can do it on my own. But you really do need a team of people. So whether you're outsourcing to that team, or you find a company like ours that has that team, you got to have the team behind you. I mean, even Melanie and I, we have to have a team, right? I can't be everything, so I am very technical, and I do know lots of graphic design, but I don't know all the graphic design. So I don't design the book covers anymore, because we have professional graphic designers that do the book covers, right?
Yeah. So think about that. Like, if you decide, I want to do it myself, it's very rare that you're artistic and you're a book cover designer, that you're a book formatter, that you know how to do layouts, that you know how to write social media posts. So you really need to create your own team. So people have done it themselves. They've hired all of those people individually. So I would say, when you work with a publishing company, it's like hiring a general contractor. They already have the proven trades that they know do an excellent job. And then you go to one place, they're responsible for everything. A new author we worked with, he goes, I just wanted a one-stop shop. I wanted someone who does everything. I don't have to go around trying to put all this together myself. I want to go to one person that I know I can trust and that's going to get it all done. And that's why he chose us. So I think that's real important. Another question that we get that's confusing is print on demand. So people always say, well, how many books do I get with that? How, like, is it coming with, or how do I print? How many books should I print? And it kind of goes back to what we talked to earlier. So just print on demand. Jen, why don't you explain it?
Yeah. So, times have changed since the printing times have changed, right? And even though paper prices are up right now because of inflation, printing has changed. So it used to be, only traditional publishers, but luckily Amazon has made it so that we can self-publish and that print on demand is a thing. Amazon started out as a book selling company, and now of course they sell lots of things, but they started out just selling books. And then they came up with all of the ways to do print on demand, which is what we do and what we think is the best way. Because like we were saying earlier, you don't need thousands of books in your garage or in your house, taking up space, when you could just order what you need. So print on demand means that your book is available on Amazon and other bookstores. And when someone buys that book, then that company, whoever they buy it from, Barnes & Noble, Amazon, Walmart, Target, wherever they're going to buy the book, that company is going to ship it, and they're going to charge for the shipping and ship it to that person. So you don't have to worry about packaging. You don't have to get envelopes or boxes and package them all up and put labels on them and do all of that, right? You don't have to be a fulfillment center. You get to just be the author. So print on demand is amazing because you can just, what I love about it too is you can pick somebody, like maybe you have the top 3 people you want to work with in your company, and you can pick those 3 people, get their addresses, and ship them a book from Amazon. And if you have Prime, it comes in 2 days, and you can have it shipped with gift wrap, right? Because Amazon has a gift wrap option. And they also have a note option where you can leave a note for the person. So that's print on demand. I don't have to physically have books in my house, except for the ones that I want to give away, or the ones when I have an event, like I have a book signing party, and then I have 50 to 100 books, or however many people I think are going to be there, depending on the event, right? Or speaking gigs. You can have, Melanie and we actually spoke down in Miami one time, and we ordered, I think it was 100 books we had delivered to the hotel in Miami, so that when we were speaking, we had our books there. So it was just really nice to have the books there, and we didn't have to pack them or take them on the airplane.
Yeah, I think that's so awesome to do that. Authors are so relieved when I talk to them. You mean I just get royalties? Yeah, you just get royalties. You don't touch a thing. You get your book published, and then you don't have to touch anything, and you just get a royalty wired right to your bank account every month of books that you sold online. So they're like, wow, oh my gosh, I had no idea that that's how it worked now, that I don't have to do that. They're thinking they got to wrap all these books and mail them out every time he gets an order. Like, so what happens when someone orders my book? So when we walk them through that, they're like, oh my gosh, I'm so relieved.
Yeah. And one question we get all the time too is, well, how much money does Amazon take? How much money does Barnes & Noble take? And it is confusing at first, but we can walk you through that when we're working with you, and you can know the exact amount you're making on each book. But one really cool thing is, because Amazon is advertising for you, because they have that website for you, that by the way, your author page is like, that is the best page for selling your book, right? You've got your author bio there, you've got your books there, and then you have your book selling page with your A+ content. Like, Amazon is selling your book for you. So them printing it, doing all of that, it's a 60-40 split. So you get to, on your paperback and hardback books, so you get to keep 60 and they keep 40. So I think that's a pretty fair deal. And then Barnes & Noble and all the other stores like Walmart and Target, it's usually more of a 55%, 35% split, but you can choose to do a 60-40. It's really up to you. You get to choose that percentage, but the standard is 55% discount to those stores.
Yeah.
And then of course you make the difference between the print price, right? But I love that when we're working with authors, we show them the details of that so they can see, okay, I know when I buy a book, it costs me this much. And when I sell a book, I make this much. Because then it helps them to know about their royalties and about how much they're going to make. So.
Yeah. And another, we talked about websites and having a landing page and having an opt-in. What's really cool now is a flip book. Yeah. So a flip book is a great thing we've started to do for our authors. They can either do the book that they've published. So it's a digital copy. It looks like a book when you open it up. You can open it up on any device. So instead of being like a PDF that someone has to download, I always think it's hard. Like, I never know where I'm at and this sort of thing. A flip book kind of acts like an ebook. and the pages actually turn, and you can have people sign up. So you can do your book, or you could do a summary of your book. You could do a worksheet or a workbook or something you could have as a flip book. So there's a lot of different uses to add it on, and then you can have it as an opt-in where people can put their name and email address to get it. So we're really excited about using flip books for our authors as another way to grow their list and expand the way that their book is distributed, or their other information they have is distributed.
Yeah, our recent author, Doreen Rivers, her book that's coming out next week, Brain to Bank, she chose to do the first 10 pages of her chapter 1, and she's having it embedded on her website so people can actually look at her book, go through it, and then go click to buy it if they're interested. So I really like that option too, that you can embed it in a website. It's really cool.
Yep. So what are the advantages of working with a team? Whether it's a team you create or a publishing company, make sure that they have a great team like we do. We're really proud of everyone who works for us. Shout out to our whole team. We have a great group of people that work with us behind the scenes. So it's really, with us, speed to market is very important. So our authors, if you come with a finished manuscript, that's already edited, usually it's about 3 months to market. If it needs editing, it usually is 3 to 4 months. But so what's happening is, while your manuscript is getting edited, we're still working on getting all the publishing things happen. We've even had people, like, their manuscript isn't quite done, but then they start working with us. It propels them to get it done sooner. And then usually within 3 to 6 months, their book is published and working for them and getting it out. So it's really important.
Well, I find a lot of authors, they need that accountability, right? Like, someone will say, okay, I'm writing a book. Well, your friends will tell you you've been writing that book for 10 years, right? So, or 5 years, or however long, right? Or 2 years. So having, hiring a publishing company like us, we can hold you accountable and help you to get that manuscript done. Because we've actually had authors come and say, oh, well, I've just got the conclusion left, or I just have this left. And so it really helps if we're starting with your book cover and starting to do your title and subtitle, which we didn't really get into that. But yeah, we definitely want to make sure you have a good title and subtitle, because like we were talking about earlier, Amazon is a search engine. And a search engine means people type in keywords to find things, right? So if they're typing in that they want a business book or an entrepreneurship book or a startup business book, we want your book to come up because we use the right keywords. So having the right words in your title and your description are very important, and in your subtitle.
So if you've been on the fence and wanting to write your book and you don't know what's stopping you, we're making you an offer today that we think is just irresistible for you to get started. Get off the fence. Get this to be 2023 is your year to become a #1 best-selling author. And you can get started for just a deposit of $500. So this is what's included in it. Of course, you're going to be guaranteed that you'll be a #1 best-selling author. You're going to have coaching calls with our team. You're going to get an ebook and a paperback. And what Jenn was talking about, that title and subtitle, we're really going to optimize that, make sure it's working for you. We do all the keywords for you, and we do a beautiful custom cover, right? And then go on, Jenn, about the A+ content and a few other things.
Yeah, I can tell you some more things to go in, but I want to tell you a little bit more about the title really quick, because even in fiction books, people will just put up a title that's one word. So we had an author who came to us with an aviation thriller, and it's an amazing book. I love that book. By the way, I listened to the audiobook. It's really good, by Bob Brantner. But his book is called Sky Heist. So that is the title, and it is a fiction book, and most fiction books just have 1 or 2, maybe 3 words for the title. But Amazon has a place for you to put a subtitle. So we told that author, you need a subtitle. Even though it's not going on the cover, you need a subtitle, because people are going to be searching on Amazon, and they're not going to know to type in Sky Heist, right? It's not really even a word. It's a kind of a made up word, right? So we had him do a subtitle of an aviation thriller. So now if someone's looking for a thriller, he's going to come up. If they're looking for aviation books, he's going to come up. So you want to make sure you have a great subtitle and title for sure. But yeah, the other stuff we're going to be including is the A+ content and our custom book cover design. We talked about that. The other thing is the ISBN. Now, the ISBN, definitely people, they don't really understand what that is. That's like your barcode for your book. And you need to own that, or have your publisher needs to own that. And it's pretty expensive to buy. So that is included in the package as well. And then we have the global distribution. So like we were talking about before, we make sure your ebook and your paperback are everywhere books are sold. So if someone's at the library and wants to read it, they can get it. If someone's at Target, they can get it. At Walmart, they can get it. Kobo, if they're in Australia, Chapters in Canada, Barnes & Noble, all platforms, all countries, because we want your book to be accessible. So we're going to make sure that's distributed globally. And then you're going to retain all your copyrights and royalties like we were talking about before. You're going to own that copyright. We're not going to own it. You're also going to own all of the royalties. So you'll get to keep the royalties from your book sales.
Yeah, and it's real important too that you get the final files of your book, because some authors don't get that. They're telling us, hey, we want you to relaunch our book and make it a bestseller. But the publishing company has the final edited manuscript and cover files, and they don't have access to it. Or their publishing company's gone out of business and they don't have their files. So they have to start from scratch to do the final edited version and come up with a brand new cover. So that's real important. We give that all to you. Everything we create for you, we put in there.
And we put it on a thumb drive and mail it to you. So you actually have the physical copy of your book. So in 5 years or in 2 years, if you need that, or in a year, it's there and you have it. And you haven't lost it because you don't know where your files are on your computer. It's on a thumb drive. You can put it in your safe or somewhere in a safe place so you don't miss it.
So if you're close to getting your book done, or you're in the middle of writing your book, like Jenn said, now is the perfect time. You can get off the fence. We're having this offer. You just sign up for $500 deposit, and then it's 6 easy payments of $24.50. And you're going to be guaranteed a #1 best-selling author. I think it's time for you to get started so you can feel good that this is your year, that you're going to do it and make it happen.
Yeah, so you can go to elitebestseller.com and you can check out the landing page there, and you can get that deposit in so that we can start working with you right away.
Oh, and we forgot to mention, if you click right away, guess what? You're going to get bonuses. We have bonuses. So you're going to get that flip book that we were talking about. So isn't that cool? And then on top of it, we're giving you done for social media post about your book. So we'll create some social media posts for you. I think it's 30 posts that we're getting that you'll just have, that you'll be able to kickstart your book with those posts right there. So click on Elite Bestseller and join in and get that package and get started, and you'll get to work with us and our team. We guarantee you'll be a #1 best-selling author, and you'll be so happy and proud. Think about holding that book in your hand that you accomplished it. An author, Tiffany Nicole, that signed with us, she's like, I'm so excited. I'm so pumped. This is finally my dream come true. I'm not waiting any longer. It's going to happen now. And it just changed her whole energy level and who she is for 2023 that she signed up with us.
Yeah, it's awesome when you can say that you're a best-selling author. I mean, just that title alone gets you on speaking stages, on podcasts, and if you don't want to speak or be on podcasts, it just propels your business, right? That title, or even the fiction books, right? It just propels your title. And we want to make sure your book is everywhere, not just Amazon, but in Amazon. And that's why we put you in multiple categories and make you a bestseller in multiple countries as well.
Yeah. We are experts at what we do. We have a proven process. We have multiple authors. All of our authors have been #1 bestseller. We've published over 3,000 books. So we're looking forward to working with you. Go ahead and go on that landing page, Elite Bestseller, and join us. Be one of our family. And we continue to promote our authors all the time on our social media. We promote them all the time. So it's not like you're just one and done. You'll be featured in our bookstore there, and you'll be interviewed on our podcast as well.
Yeah, so reach out to us if you have any questions, or put them in the comments here, and we'll answer those questions right away for you. Check out elitebestseller.com, and we'll see you next time on our next live.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.